Hi, my beautiful friends. I'm Shana Narrow, and I am helping people to end food addiction and step into their power to manifest radiant health of body, mind, and soul. And I want to talk about why and how it is that so many people spend so much of their life basically being victim to their own emotions. And in a way, this is a radical concept because when people usually talk about feeling like a victim, they are usually talking about feeling like a victim to their circumstances in life, to people around them who basically are creating situations where a person feels powerless to be able to change, where a person feels that they have no control over their life circumstances. These are ways that we generally think of people who feel like a victim. But what I want to suggest and bring light to is that there is a much deeper and subtler level of feeling like a victim that can really keep somebody trapped in this unconscious way for years, where there is just no awareness or realization that a person is victim to their own emotions. And even for people who are starting to live more empowered, they're starting to take action in their life to change their circumstances, change their relationships, realize that they're responsible to change the relationships, to relate differently to things that are happening to them, and that they can literally allow a tremendous shift to happen in what's going on by them deciding to take action. But frequently, even these people will still spend years, a lot of time, continuing to be victim to their emotions without realizing it. So what does this really mean is that a person is controlled by how they feel. And in a way that almost sounds like, well, yes, isn't that the way it's supposed to be? Don't we usually act based on how we feel? So that is the way it is supposed to be when a person is living their life in a somewhat unconscious way. Then they don't have the ability to change the way they respond, or that change the way they choose to act based on how they feel. But it's really important here to recognize that most of the time, the way that we act is a result of how we feel. And so when a person can begin to really get it, that they do not have to continue to live their life in a way where their emotions, where the way they feel is going to control them, they begin to really experience real freedom and live in their power. So I want to talk about a couple of the ways that a person begins to shift from being a victim to the way they feel, a victim to their emotions, to all of a sudden living empowered, where these states are not controlling them. So there's two main ways, and one has to do with rewiring techniques to actually change the way one feels. And of course, meditation, beginning to just cultivate awareness, because much of the time we're walking around not even aware of how we feel. So we do need to cultivate a mindfulness practice of observing what's going on, not only observing our thoughts, but observing how we feel. So when I am teaching people and taking them through this process, we usually begin with mindfulness and cultivating this ability to be more aware of how you feel. And that's just the beginning. So once you begin to be aware of how you feel, then comes these techniques of being able to step out of victimhood where the emotions are controlling us. And the one that I want to discuss with you, besides for these techniques to rewire where we can literally in the moment change how we feel, okay? This is very possible. I want people to know that in the moment a person can quickly change how they feel. And once you begin to learn how to do this, it becomes something that you can do on a regular basis. But the second place with being empowered with your emotions is beginning to relate to your emotions, as Anthony Robbins calls it, action signals. He relates to the emotions in a way where we are looking to see what the emotion is indicating, and then we can get to the action that the emotion is actually coming to arouse in us in order to bring us forward. So like, to give you an example, well, there are a large array of negative emotions that one could be feeling: overwhelm, fear, loneliness, anger, okay? And there are more. One of them is discomfort. Discomfort, at least, is this action signal that is actually coming from something that just isn't right. There's a feeling that something isn't right, and a person could be bored or impatient, feel unease, distress. Discomfort is a sort of milder emotion, feeling of something not being right, and we tend to suppress it or lash out or numb ourselves. These are some of the main ways that we will unconsciously deal with our emotions and remain in a victim state with our emotions. But when a person decides that they are going to live empowered emotionally, they are basically deciding that they are not going to be controlled by their emotions anymore. Again, learning to shift the state. But here we're talking about tapping in to what it is that the emotions are coming to show us about what we need to do. And we call this an action signal, because really what's required when you do this is to take action in some way. It may be a very overt action of going and doing something to remedy the situation, or it may be a more internal action of shifting the way you're looking at something. But always, we have to go into this being willing to take action in some way, either internally or externally. So again, with discomfort, which is one of the most common ones, there's so much of the time that people are walking around feeling discomfort, and they do not stop because they're not in the practice of living empowered with their emotions. When a person begins to realize that they can live empowered with their emotions, that they don't need to live controlled by their emotions, they begin to realize that their emotions are coming to show them something. So with discomfort, a person would use techniques of mindfulness and other techniques to start to look at it, feel it, and then look at it and ask, what is this really about? What is this discomfort about? And so then a person might become aware all of a sudden that this is about, let's say, some sort of distress over something that they really do not feel is right that is going on. Let's say they had a conversation with someone that is not sitting right with them, and they didn't really do what needed to be done to remedy the situation or get closure or make peace with somebody, whatever it is, or stick up for themselves. Okay, so this feeling of discomfort is one of the big ones that has usually so much important information for us, that when we begin to listen, why am I feeling this feeling of unease, of discomfort, we really can get the message of why this is coming. And it's so important. If we don't stop to get this message, we will continue to be trapped in this cycle of being a victim to our emotion until we can go through this process of realizing what the action is that this emotion is coming to bring us to, in order to bring our life into alignment. Also, just before I end, I'll talk about fear, another one. And a very common thing that fear is coming to help us to connect with and take action about is that there is something that needs to be prepared for that we are not prepared for. And so we are feeling fear. Or many of us have the subconscious belief that the past equals the future. So we have this gnawing fear that something that happened in the past, if something in the present is sort of reminding us of it, is triggering a neural association subconsciously, then we could be with this low level of subconscious, unconscious fear about the future, because we're living with a false belief that the past equals the future. So we have to be willing, once again, to make the decision that we are no longer going to live as a victim to our emotions, as a victim to these feelings, or I'm going to also call them action signals that come because there's something that needs to be realized and then acted on in order to bring us forward. All of these emotions, all of these feelings we feel, I promise you, are coming to help us and teach us something and enable us to take some sort of internal shift action or external action. So just begin by sitting with this idea and then beginning to ask yourself how you feel. Allow yourself to feel it, but realize, but that's not enough. Some people really get into this whole, I'm going to get in touch with my feelings sort of thing, right? But they get just as sucked into being a victim. They don't cultivate the ability to actually be empowered, where they don't have to just be fully overtaken by this feeling of feeling their emotions. The point of it is to come to the wisdom that is there inside of it and to act on the wisdom. And it's really there for us if we're willing to just stop and look and ask ourselves. We can almost always really get to what it is that we're meant to be seeing about the situation, what we're meant to be seeing about what we need that maybe we're not getting, or something that needs to be corrected that is just not right, has not been corrected. So we need to be open to looking, getting that information, and taking action. The taking action part is the sort of end part of this process. If a person does all these steps but they don't realize that taking action is crucial, then they do not fully become empowered. They may start this journey, but a person has to be willing from the beginning to know that they are going to take action on this information that they are getting from their emotions, from the way they feel. So I hope this is helpful for you. I am here to speak to any of you who want to get into a deeper understanding of what is holding you back and how you can truly begin a powerful shift to living empowered in your life. What needs to happen? I'll put a link at the bottom if you want to set up a free call to speak to me. And have a beautiful rest of your day, a beautiful weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.